It's 5 o'clock. I'll call the Legislative Regulatory Committee meeting to order. Start off. Roll call, please, Becky.
Bauer Fry. Bauer Fry. Thank you. Crawley.
Here.
Feeney.
Here.
Paul.
Here.
Wetzel.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Next is public comment.
I perceive none.
Approval of minutes from February 12th, 2024.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from
Yeah.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Crawley.
Aye.
Feeney.
Aye.
Paul.
Aye.
Wetzel.
Aye.
Bauer Fry.
Aye.
Passes.
Next on the agenda is Travis Mendez, appeal of vicious animal declaration.
If it's all right, I'll go through the process just to refresh everybody. It's in your packet on page 9. It's a document that was put together by city staff a few years ago that sort of lays out everything that's in the code to streamline it. And I'll bring it up on the board. All right, I'll summarize it if I can. So municipal code defines the criteria for dangerous and vicious animal declaration. It provides for an owner of an animal that has been declared dangerous and vicious to appeal the determination before this body, leg and reg, of the Portage Common Council. So there are two different classifications in code to be possibly assigned to an animal, either dangerous or vicious. Dangerous, for lack of a better word, is a little bit below vicious as far as severity. Vicious is the higher severity. Dangerous, you can read through A through E, sort of actions and behaviors that could warrant really a referral to the committee for dangerous. Vicious is all the things that are in the dangerous designation and more proven behavior through acts, I would say would be the best way to describe it. So the process, so the chair has copies of the dangerous animal notification, police report, request for an appeal by the owner, and this was submitted to the city clerk. All information that is relevant to this has been put in the packet for public review. In the next page, on page 10, as far as witness and appearances, the police officer who issued the dangerous animal determination is present for the appeal. The owner making the appeal of determination was given notice 5 days prior to the meeting. If owner intends to bring witnesses or persons to make statements, must provide 48 hours notice to the city clerk for names and addresses of those individuals. Victim, if applicable, shall be given notice of appeal of determination. Victim shall be, that's not, I don't believe, relevant in this case.
There was one. The victim was notified.
Notified, but not here.
I know.
Okay.
Correct.
So she was, or he or she was notified? Okay. So there is a script that goes along with this. It's really to guide the committee. So the chair will introduce the owner, then the police officer, and then possibly the victim or other individual scheduled to make an appearance. The police officer shall present summary of police report and determination of dangerous animal declaration. Then the animal owner shall be provided the opportunity to appeal, and then other interested parties. Committee members and city staff shall make inquiries at the time while persons are presenting after being recognized by the chair. All their inquiries shall be presented to the chair after each person has made their statement. So when somebody is up, police officer, owner, you can make inquiries to them on their specific case. Anything that's sort of generalized shall be presented to the chair after that person is done. That's more of the deliberation end, maybe. All presentations and inquiries answered, the chair will inform everyone present that the committee shall deliberate in the merits of the appeal without further inquiry. So when the chair is satisfied that the entire process has concluded, then the committee deliberates. Committee can make requests for clarification. After the LRC makes its decision, a support shall be prepared whether the appeal of the officer's determination is granted or denied. Then they shall consider the criteria for determination of dangerous or vicious, and also material statements and observations presented during the appeal to make their report. The LRC shall include specific reasons to grant or deny, and I think specific reasons is important. After the report is filed, the clerk shall immediately notify the owner, and then really the ordinance-related process upheld, that's one thing, and if it's denied, it's another. So I think it's fairly straightforward, and also we do have representing the firm that represents the city, Tracy Waldinger, attorney, here tonight to guide and answer questions as they come forth. So I think first part would be A, which would be the hearing. And if I'm reading this correctly, the police officer would first introduce why they determined that city should declare this a vicious dog.
So we have two different incidents. Let's first do the animal complaint incident 24P-12264 from 10/22/24. State your name, please.
Yep, so I'm Officer Mueller. That would have been my case for an animal bite complaint. I responded to an address here in Portage that evening as a juvenile returned home from a visit with her father. That is a relative to Travis. While at Silver Lake Beach, the juvenile was spinning around on one of those chair things that they can turn and spin on, I guess. The dog was on a leash, but lunged at the juvenile multiple times while it was spinning, and at one point did bite the juvenile in the left knee, causing a small laceration to the knee. I then went to Travis, spoke to him about the incident, and issued a quarantine notice for the dog due to the animal bite. That case.
That's on page 16 of your packet, that looks like that was the one related. 17, 18.
Do we have any questions for the officer? Yes. Please state your name.
He'll get his.
That's after, the committee, yeah,
Yep.
You dropped your hat, Travis.
only
Drop your
members of the
hat.
committee can ask.
Sorry.
And that was for the first, that was 20,
For the first incident.
Was quarantine followed?
So I issued the quarantine process and notification, and it was not followed, and he was served a citation for failure to comply with the quarantine order. It should be noted that the dog is vaccinated for rabies, though.
Who was in the park with the dog?
It was Travis, the juvenile's dad, Patrick, BB, I believe is his last name, and then the juvenile with the initials of MGB.
Okay, the second.
So I'm Officer Ramirez. I'm speaking on behalf of Officer Fahey. She's not in the state right now. I was acting as a training officer to her, and we got an anonymous complaint that somebody that was residing at the bridge had thrown a deceased cat in the dumpster. This person had informed them that the dog, Travis's dog, had killed the cat, and then it was just in the dumpster behind the ridge.
and on the screen, which is page 11 in the packet, it would be the letter about that last incident that was presented by Officer Fahey.
Do you have questions?
The next would be the animal owner, if there are no other questions for the officers.
Can I add something to it or no?
Yes.
So, we did go up to the apartment that Travis resides in, and Megan, or Officer Fahey, did observe the dog inside the room, with some juveniles. So we then went back downstairs where we made contact with Travis, who informed us that his dog, had been with a friend who's with him right now, and that's when the incident occurred. So then we then spoke with him and got all of the information about how it happened and how the dog killed the cat.
Any more questions? Travis, will you please step up?
I did inform you guys that it is a service dog, certified by my son's healthcare provider. There are different guidelines that they have for the ADA. The ADA protects service dogs to the point where it has to be, according to any ordinances or according to state laws in Wisconsin, for a service dog to be deemed vicious, it has to be a Schedule III bite, which is 4 bite marks an eighth of an inch deep, and that's when you can consider a dog vicious. Okay? That's in the ADA rules. I have a bunch of copies. I can bring you guys copies. Go ahead and bring all these copies. I've been busy working with my kids. But I did also like to inform you guys that at the park, they were playing. The dog at no point or any time tried to make a vicious move towards her. My daughter was spinning her around, and my dog loves my daughter and plays with my daughter all the time. Her knee happened to catch his tooth right in the right spot because that's how the level was. So that's why she got a bite mark. I called my vet. She sent me the email of my dog's rabies bites shots. She then informed me that said, why are they scheduling that a class, an attack? I said, I don't know why it's called an attack, because Schedule I and Schedule II bites should not be considered attacks, by any means. That would be a Schedule I bite, if you were to look up the meaning of a bite. Second, they were told that the cat provoked my dog. My dog is very good with other animals. My sister has a hobby farm. His best friend is a flapjack. They call him flapjack. He is a jackass. Sorry, he's a donkey. He is a donkey. That's his best friend. The cats, they roam around. They play around. He will go and pick up the little chickens and take them back by their moms. Okay, I've had this dog for 1 year now. And since I've had him for 1 year, these incidents shouldn't even be on his record. But unfortunately, they are. Fortunately, they are. And it's because of his name, a pit bull, that I feel like he's getting deemed vicious. And it's quite unfair to me. The officers, when they spoke to the daughter, how come you guys never went and questioned my brother-in-law when he was standing next to me when this happened? How come nobody ever went and questioned him?
Are you asking me a question?
Yes, I'm asking.
So I spoke with the mom, which is the daughter, or obviously the mom to the juvenile, and she gave me the side of the story that Patrick reported to her, and then I just went and spoke with the dog owner. I reviewed camera footage from Silver Lake, to which prior to the daughter spinning in the chair, Travis was seen with the dog on the leash, where the dog was jumping and lunging at other individuals, and then you can see it. The camera view isn't the greatest when you review it, but you see the juvenile spinning and then the dog lunge at the juvenile.
Chief, what did my brother-in-law tell you the day we came to visit you? That it was a
Well,
freak?
that's, yeah, probably a little irrelevant at the moment, but, Patrick was with you, and said the dog ran into her knee, is what he said.
It was not an attack. We were both standing there. Because if I were to see my dog be vicious, I personally would put him down. I have no fear of doing that. This was done by my German Shepherd. The best dogs are supposed to be the best dogs in the world. This was done by my own dog, German Shepherd, all because he was frustrated one day. I had to put him down. My dog will sit there. I've never had such a better dog in my life that will sit there and look at you in your eyes when you speak to him and knows what the difference is of right and wrong. When I take him into Walmart, because he is a service dog, he's never attacked a human. Has anybody ever called you about him attacking a Walmart? Festival Foods? Smoke shops? Quick Trip? I take him everywhere. Everywhere. This cat that he did kill, he shouldn't have. I've taken him to my mother-in-law's house. She has 2 cats. He doesn't attack them. Not once. Plays with them. My daughter, she's 5. She can walk with my dog on the leash. And she'll say, "Don't pull," and he won't pull. My son, who's the handicapped one, he goes every morning and grabs my son's pills every morning so we don't have to have an alarm clock or so we don't forget to give them to him and he doesn't forget as he gets older. That's what classifies him as a service dog. Second, his emotions. My son's emotions are everywhere. By next year, I plan on having him in the school with him because that's what he's meant to do. He's there, and he's been a great dog to all of us. That freak accident that happened that night with the cat should have never happened. Unfortunately, it did, but you said it's unprovoked attack. Well, this was a provoked attack by a cat. The first incident, I can't make you change your mind. He did leave a mark. But if you look at the guidelines on what should be a severe attack or to tell somebody that has a very good animal to get rid of them, especially a handicapped boy that's 12 years old, it's unfair. It's unfair. And with all I got to say is, the officer should have asked my brother-in-law what happened that night. She didn't. She failed to do the rest of her job. I'm sorry, but they want us to tell the truth and obey laws too. Well, they gotta do their part and do the whole investigation. The thing with the cat, he had told her that the cat scratched my dog. Until then, my dog would never have attacked him. That's why I'm asking you guys not to declare my dog vicious. He's not. I didn't bring him in here because you guys asked me not to, but according to state laws, I could have brought him because he is a service dog. He's an amazing animal. And if you guys would meet him, you guys would love him too. Everybody at the Ridge, every morning says hello to Tank. Hello, Tank. Hello, Tank. How's it going, Tank? Not once has he ever tried to bite anybody. Not even the other dogs that are there. I take him to the dog park. You guys ever been called for a vicious attack from me? That is all I have to say, and I will rest my case. Eugene would like to speak on behalf of the night.
Thank you.
Bill Tackett.
You have pictures of the cat bites?
I was not on that case.
I don't have them.
May I show them to you?
Yes, yes.
stays in my room all the time. I've only known him 5 months. He sleeps in my bed with me. His kid's sleeping over there at night. We all hang out together. Dog has never been that vicious towards me at all.
Questions?
So how did the cat, like, how did it get in? Was it like, was it door, like, how'd the cat get into, to where it was?
There's a couple that got kicked out, and they were going to just leave the cat in the room. I said I'd watch it for a couple of days, because I knew Tank was good around animals. But I didn't know the cat. The ignorance is on me, not the dog. I mean, I wasn't going to allow the cat to stay in an empty room by itself.
Excuse me, who was in the room with you and the dog and the cat when the
His
incident?
5-year-old daughter and son,
I'm sorry, what?
his 5-year-old daughter and son, his 12-year-old son.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Beth?
Any other questions?
Can I ask something?
I just wondered if is there proof that this dog is the service dog? Yeah. But is it about this dog?
Was in the handout, that letter?
Ramirez, did you have a question?
So that night when we did talk to Granville, he told us that they had all been sleeping and that it was at 3 o'clock in the morning. However, it was dark in there and he was sleeping. So I guess our confusion and what we questioned him on is how does he know that the cat was the one that hit the dog? And that was the main question that we had because he had said that they were all sleeping.
No, we were all sleeping. I could leave a bathroom light on so I can see. The rooms aren't that big. I heard the dog going across, and that's when I got up.
That's what we asked you when we were there that night, is how can you tell us for certain that the cat, it was the one to hit the dog when you were sleeping? Is the main thing that we
Well, because
questioned you on that night.
the accident hadn't happened yet. The dog had got over to the cat when I got up. The dog sniffed the cat popped the dog. I grabbed the cat, and the cat popped me. I was a little inebriated when I talked to you. A lot, maybe.
I guess the three questions I have in general as I'm looking at this is the first one, I guess can go to the officers, or it was when you guys were dealing with the complaints at all, did you guys have any interaction with the dog, or did the dog seem to be aggressive towards anyone else, or?
When I went and spoke with Travis for the initial dog bite complaint, the dog would bark when we'd knock on the door, but once the door was open and we were in a conversation, the dog never attempted to like come out of the room or attack us while we were sitting there having a conversation. It would bark kind of aggressively when you would knock on a door, but other than that, I haven't had any experience other than
And when we were over there, Ice was standing off to the side. Officer Fahey was the one that was in the doorway that saw the dog. So I can't speak to how the dog was when she was at the door.
And I guess the other two questions I had was there any reason why the quarantine order wasn't followed? Because I was just curious about.
Because the vet that I go to is 2 hours away, but they asked what kind of fight it was, or why it was being vicious. And they said, honestly, it should be a Schedule 3 bite or better.
And this was a Schedule 1?
This was a Schedule 1.
Can I add something to that? So per our policy, or what rules we follow here for the city when it comes to an animal bite, regardless of the severity, as long as it breaks skin, that is when we require a quarantine order to be put in place, and for those observation for those 3 days during the 10-day quarantine. So even though it was a minimal bite, it still broke skin.
And for the quarantine, all they do is check them. You just take them in, check them, take them home, check them. But she said since, you know, they know that he's not vicious,
Come up to the microphone, Travis.
since the vet told me they know that he's not vicious or worried about rabies because they know the dog quite well, they said just keep an eye on him. And,
When it comes to a quarantine order, if the dog is vaccinated, it can be quarantined at home.
yes,
And when, they can't provide proof of vaccinations, we can, make sure, we can, take the dog to any one of the veterinarian clinics that will take a dog. There's not a lot anymore that can quarantine them, but that'll be forced then upon quarantine at an actual facility if they don't have vaccinations. If there is vaccinations in place, like the case with Tank, they're allowed to do that from a home setting.
yep.
And to add to that, it's just, again, it still needs to be seen regardless of the vaccination. It still needs to be seen 3 times. It should be on the first day of the bite, during the middle, and then one other day between the 10-day
Essentially-
quarantine.
I sent her 3 videos because I'm too out. I could have her email them to me again. I could bring them to you guys. She's not in, but I did email her within, so she said.
It's just the paperwork that you were provided needs to be signed off by a vet.
I can understand.
You have another question, Matt?
Mr. Mendez, is the dog licensed?
Yes,
Where?
Rabbis, through the doctor.
No, I mean, the city license.
No, I do not have a city license, but I would be glad to do that. I didn't know I needed one here. Because in my city, because we didn't allow pit bulls, they just didn't want to mess with me anymore, so they didn't make me register in any city. Because they just didn't want to, the ADA was getting involved because they were trying to take my dog from a 12-year-old son. So they just didn't want to mess with me anymore, so they didn't make me register him, but I can register him here without any problem.
He is not registered, I did verify that.
But I can, I will.
How long has the dog lived here?
5 months, but I wasn't sure if we were gonna stay or not. I didn't know what we were doing, you know? I don't know. There was ups and downs, there's always ups and downs in life. You know, we don't know if we're gonna stay here or where we're gonna go, you know? So I didn't, you know, I've been going around, people have asked me to try and prove that he's a registered service dog. I show them the letter, that's what I do. You know, and people have not caused any grief, and I'm not trying to cause grief, and I'd be glad to register them throughout my stay here. That's not a problem, and it's not that I don't want to. I will do it. It's just, I didn't know what we were gonna do.
Yes, sir.
In regards to that, when I was reading him the quarantine order process, he was quite agitated and would continue to speak over with me while I was trying to read through the process of that. And I did mention that it did need to be registered and licensed within the city of Portage. But again, I don't know if it was taken in because, again, he was very quite agitated and speaking over me the entire time I was trying to go through the process.
Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions? Is Tank an emotional support
He
animal
is
or
a
a service dog?
Service dog.
And can you,
I told you what tasks he does.
what test does he do?
He
Please
gets my
repeat
son's
yourself.
bottles in the morning of medicine
Okay,
and takes them to him every morning.
okay.
That's the only task he needs to complete. In the new ADA rules, that's the only task he needs to complete.
Is the meds? Any other questions? So now we'll deliberate for possible action. Thank you.
All right, I'll say something before you stick. So one of the biggest things about ADA and the rules is that better? Oops, I broke it. Is having the dog under control. Yeah, so that's one of the biggest questions is having the dog under control. Is that your control, your friend's control, or whatever, is having that dog under control when it is out in the community. You know, so that's one question that you folks should ask is about the dog being under control. What's that look like? How is that performed so incidents don't happen?
I did describe,
Yep.
I did describe.
No, it's just a basic question to ask.
No, but I did describe how well he is in control when everybody's around. How he does with my daughter. I did tell you guys that. He's very well controlled. My 5-year-old daughter makes him sit, stay, feeds him. She taught him how to clean a chicken bone without biting her fingers. Not many dogs do that. But she does it. She climbs in the cage with him, lays with him, dresses him. He's got a very well-mannered behavior. I said, if you guys would meet him, you guys would fall in love with him. Everybody else has. And the officers at the door, yes, he does bark loud. But as soon as you come in and you say hello to him, he's all over. It's all over. Not once have you guys been over because some kid got bitten in my room, right? There's always kids in my house. And 12 of them sometimes at a time. Not once has he bitten them. He just barks to say hello. Hi, how are you? He talks to me when I walk in.
I guess I have two questions then. So I guess I was gonna, so when you take Tank out, like, is he always leashed all the time? Does he have a harness or?
Yep, harness, leash,
Okay.
all the time.
And then I guess the other question is, so like, we were talking about licensing and you weren't sure, if you're gonna stay or not, like, are you planning to stay in Portage
Yes,
at all? or-
yes, that's why I said by next year I plan on having him in the school.
Okay,
It would be with Sebastian full-time.
Okay.
And at that point in time, I do plan on putting a mouth guard on him, not for the kids' protection, for his protection. Not because I want to protect him from biting somebody. But I don't want this incident to ever happen again. Because it should even be deemed vicious. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Oh, yes.
Any chance we can see the footage from camera 16?
I believe I have it saved in,
What's that?
I think I have it saved in the
I think
media
it's
file.
saved, yeah. I would be able to show you from here, though. Yeah.
Is it, the way he was jumping, do you think that was more excitement, puppy jumping?
Well, you could see juveniles playing on the playground, and Travis was more so on that, like, sidewalk, kind of near the restrooms. And he had the dog on a leash, but the dog was like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, jumping to where its front paws were off of the ground, but again, there wasn't anybody in his vicinity except for Travis at that time. And then when it went to, the juvenile on the spinny chair, I don't even know what to call it, but the chair situation, the dog was standing, so it was Travis, his brother-in-law, then the two juveniles, 2 or 3 juveniles. Yep, yep. Spinning in they were all kind of standing in the same location. The daughter was spinning around, or the juvenile was spinning around multiple times, and then that's when Tank just randomly went towards her.
Was your son at the park that day too?
No, he was not. Actually, it was just me, my son, I don't remember when my son was, I think he was at home. But I stopped because there were issues here, and my daughter was spinning the little girl around in the thing. That's why he gets excited, because he likes to chase her. And that's what it was. My daughter is his best friend. Like, when I lived out in the cornfield areas, I would let my daughter run, and then he'd run up behind her and chase him, kick him over with the butt, kind of thing. That's my dog. And that was the second day that I had him, that I realized that my dog was not vicious. The second day, after my second day of him going outside with my son and daughter, not even knowing them and seeing how well he interacted with them, that's when I said, that's got to be our dog.
Any other questions?
Is it worth going over the definitions of dangerous and vicious, or does everybody?
Yes, Susan.
Dogs allowed at the park?
No, they're not allowed on
Dogs are
any
allowed there.
park property. Generally, dogs are not.
In general, right?
Dangerous, habitually pursues a vehicle, approaches or chases any person or domestic animal in menacing fashion. This is for dangerous dogs without provocation, believes in a manner that a reasonable person would believe poses an unjustified imminent threat of serious injury or death to one or more persons or domestic animals. Without provocation, causes a non-severe, non-bite injury in a menacing fashion to any person or domestic animal. Without provocation, has attacked, bitten, or injured any person or domestic animal on public or private property. And then vicious goes further, is defined as a dangerous animal that is not in compliance with the restrictions imposed. Because if it's declared dangerous, there's a whole set of procedures about you have to label your property. Has on 2 or more occasions bitten, injured, killed, damaged, or attacked any person or domestic animal on public or private property. Has a propensity, tendency, or disposition known to the owner thereof to attack without provocation in a manner which may cause death, injury, damage, or otherwise endanger the safety of the animal. D, is owned, harbored, or trained primarily or in part for the purpose of fighting.
If you go up to page 4 of the packet, it shows what the requirements are. Vicious animals not allowed in the city. Dangerous animal, there are license requirements. So if the committee were to say it was not vicious but go with the dangerous animal, then there are the requirements, and you can see them on the board, that those would need to be followed.
Like Becky said, vicious, just 100% are not allowed, and there's a whole set of things that happen if that is declared. Dangerous, $180 fee, prorated for the month the animal is declared, current license, current vaccination, proof of spay or neutering. The individual has to garner insurance of at least $300,000 for property damage and at least $50,000 for property, and personal injuries, $300,000. Posting of warning signs visible, capable of read from the public within 40 feet of its placement. Warning dangerous animal, and there are dogs within the city that have that designation. Such signs shall be posted at each entrance of the building in which the dangerous animal is kept, and at each entrance through any fence or enclosure. The dangerous animal, while off the premises, shall be muzzled with no bite type muzzle, restrained as to movement by collar or harness appropriate for the animal's size, not greater than 5 feet in length, and under the direct control and supervision of a mentally competent adult who is physically able to restrain the dangerous animal. The dangerous animal, while on the premise where kept, shall be placed within a secured building or within a secured fence or sufficient height of obstruction to maintain the animal within.
Am I able to ask a question? Just a clarifying question. I know service dogs are allowed in the park, however, doesn't the subject that this service dog belongs to need to be present in the park. So although Tank is allowed in the park with Son, the Son needs to be there.
You want to come up to the microphone, Travis?
Because he's my son, I or my wife can be anywhere with that dog. Because we are his parents, or legal guardians. So no, he does not have to be present. Under the 2018.
Send for a recopy. Rich, VIPs in the lobby.
And for clarification for the committee, the place of residence is the Ridge. So this is not a private residence. So just keep that in mind.
Go ahead for 17.
Right?
Apartment. I live in an apartment. Is that a private residence?
17 can take care of that too.
I live at the Ridge. It's extended
Apartment is a
stay.
private residence.
Pay by the month. I don't pay by the day, I don't pay by the night, I don't pay by the hour.
Right.
It would be considered a private residence. I'll walk into a door and close it. Nobody
Right.
can come into my door.
Right, right. What I meant was, just to keep that in mind, it's not a home, so if there were to be signs
So a
put
lot of
up,
us,
there
it
would...
is a home.
Right, there would need to be signs put at every door. I just wanted the committee to keep
But
that in mind.
if you can go back to page 9, we're talking about the without provocation. The dog was provocated, so that shouldn't even be should be a non-starter. The second attack was provoked. I had the cat bit the hell out of me, the dog bit the cat, protected me.
At this point, that is the information we have, but just to kind of go back on what you also admitted to me, you were very intoxicated the night that we talked to you.
That was
and
the
your
next night.
I know, and your story didn't completely make a whole lot of sense. So although that's what you're saying right now, and that's what you told us that night, we don't 100% believe that that's exactly what
Well,
happened.
and I
So I'm
don't
just
believe
putting that out there.
A laceration is a bite.
What?
She called the little girl's injury a laceration.
Well, now we're
That's not
talking
a
about
bite.
two separate things. We
Well,
gotta
I'm just
focus on
saying,
one thing.
you're changing your story too. The dog's a great dog, guys.
You know, the ordinance is the ordinance, that's what you are to enforce based off the standards of that. Shouldn't stray too much in and out of them for the sake of what your job is a quasi-judicial activity. You know, you just have to deliberate if you think the animal is dangerous, vicious, or none of them. Based off what the ordinance says. Our city attorney is looking to see if this, about that claim that the dog could be with the non-service, the person that the service dog is for, if they're not present, if somebody else can bring it into a park in a restricted area, even though the service person is not there.
Sure, if you have it, that'd be great.
Yes.
I guess I'm kind of curious if we're gonna say this is, if we were to declare it vicious, we can't. If it's a service dog, according to the ADA, we can't have them be a violation of the ADA to say they can't have the dog. Not-
So-
That's my main question, is like, if we're gonna say this is a service animal, that's the claim, he has the documentation to back it up.
So, for clarification on that point,
a service animal, just because it's a service animal, does not mean that it in and of itself cannot be deemed a vicious animal. And the reasoning behind that is if you look at all of the ADA stuff, it's all about what the animal and the animal's behavior. So you can prohibit the animal certain types of behavior and thus find an animal vicious, even if it is a service dog. And there's a bunch of examples, including, and I even brought some here that talks about that if an animal poses a direct threat that cannot be eliminated or reduced to an acceptable level through actions the individual takes to maintain or control the animal, then they can be, there's nothing that requires them to not be deemed like vicious, right? So the whole point, there isn't any law that prohibits an animal from being declared vicious. Because it's all about the animal's behavior, not what type of animal it is. So even a service dog, if it was,
Fortunately, I can't bring up my stuff because I don't have internet right now. But because it's a service dog in the state of Wisconsin, even with your city ordinance, it has to go under the state of Wisconsin regulations because he is a service dog, that he is to viciously attack with a Schedule III bite 3 times on humans only. And that's also in my rules. I was trying to find that, but I don't have internet. I did look that up this morning also.
so even Wisconsin statutes talks about the emotional support animals and service animals, and that you can still prohibit certain acts. And it's all about the specific animal in question poses a direct threat to a person's health or safety that cannot be reduced or eliminated by another reasonable accommodation. And so that is actually right under Wisconsin statute 106.50 sub 2R sub BG, sub 4 sub C, and then D talks about the specific animal in question would cause substantial physical damage to a person's property that cannot be reduced or eliminated by another reasonable accommodation. These are specifically to part of the Wisconsin's disability code issues.
From 2011, correct?
This state statute is the current statute.
No, that's 2011. They have one that's brand new from 2022, August.
Are you talking about like,
That's the statutes of Wisconsin, yes. Because now with the regulations on training your service dog, now that all changed because of COVID. Now you don't have to go and get them certified by certain people anymore because it costs people a ton of money. Now people in their home can train them. And as long as, because my child is a minor, yes, I can take that service dog anywhere with me. It's in the rules. I'm not gonna.
Where would you find these rules? What were you gonna?
ADA speculations of Wisconsin on dog bites and what the ordinances mean, because they wanted me to put a $10 million policy of insurance because the ordinance said that that's what they wanted. They wanted me to get rid of my dog because that's what the ordinance wanted. But you know why they chose not to go any further? Because the ADA stepped in and said, no, that's not how this works anymore.
so my understanding is there's a difference between your specific breed of dog being characterized as being a vicious animal versus the actual type, the acts made by the
But there
dog.
was not a vicious attack is what I'm saying. And even the father has said that it was not a vicious attack.
I'm talking about in response to your comment about the other area that you
The
were
other
in.
county, yes.
That other, they actually had a pit bull.
They actually had a pit bull ban, but because
Right.
he's a service dog, they could not do anything to me.
And there's a difference between
They're banned.
a ban on a breed of animals.
They're deemed vicious right away in that county.
Right. And what I'm saying, though, is that in and of it's because your dog is, so a service animal, you can't have an ordinance that says this particular breed cannot be a service animal, and
Right.
therefore
You can have a
can't be.
miniature horse now as a service animal.
Actually,
Yeah, that's very true. Still in the state of Wisconsin.
under ADA rules, that
Under
can't be
ADA.
a service animal because the service animal is defined as a dog, but that's neither here nor there. But my point is there's a difference between an ordinance that says a certain breed of an animal is automatically vicious versus what is alleged in this
Right.
ordinance,
But you
which
guys are
is,
saying Schedule I bites are vicious when they're not.
I'm not saying
No,
that
I'm
they
not
are.
saying you are, but that's what you guys are saying, is Schedule I bites are deemed vicious when they shouldn't be, especially to a service animal. Now, a service animal, he's, like you said, what is his type, what is his person like? Let me bring him in here so you guys can see what he's like. So you guys can meet him and actually meet him and say, he's not vicious. You guys would change your minds completely. He sits, he heals until I say, go meet them, he goes and meets you guys. Until I say, stay where you're at, and I walk to my truck, whether I'm 20 feet away or 20 yards away, he will stay, and when I say, come, that's when he comes. When he gets out the truck, just like the service animal is supposed to, he sits there and waits until I grab his leash, and then he evacuates my truck. He does everything he's supposed to. He's not vicious. This is my argument. He is not vicious. I have 20 kids in my house all times on the weekend, coming in and out. Joe or Katie have never called and complained about him. And they're very well known at the Ridge. And they would tell me, hey, your dog has had enough. You gotta take him. They're not afraid to tell me that. But the community loves him. As far as my kids, they love him. That's my son's dog. I already trained him. I already have him trained. He's a well-obedient dog. I'll take him to my sister's farm and have him record on us how much he carries the chickens around and what he does with the cats. Because he's not gonna just attack. He never has.
Trying to find something about, on the Justice of Civil Rights.
All the stuff that you sent me, I forwarded to him. It did have those specific rules and language in it.
Everything I see related to dogs keeps referencing to handlers. I don't really know what that means.
Definition of it.
Questions? I don't know if it's relevant. This is on a question page under ada.gov, which is Office of Civil Rights. The question is, what does under control mean? Do service animals have to be on a leash? Do they have to be quiet and not bark? The ADA requires that service animals be under the control of the handler at all times. In most instances, the handler will be the individual with a disability or a third party who accompanies the individual with a disability. The handler should not be allowed for the dog to wander away from her, or it's using her. It must maintain control of the dog, even if it is retrieving an item at a distance. Under control also means a service animal should not be allowed to bark repeatedly. However, if the dog barks because it is provoked, this would not mean that the dog is out of control. So, I don't know. This is also, it gets like very much into interpretation. So an individual with a disability would normally be the handler or a third party who accompanies the individual with a disability. Is that a fair interpretation, Tracy? Can the handler be in a different state with the dog and the?
Not a
I'm asking
different state.
Tracy. And that the person with the disability is not even there?
That's the way I.
The person with the disability has to be there?
At least if you're gonna make an accommodation going to that particular.
And it goes on to say, that, just for future reference, that a city, and this is from the feds, a city can ban a service dog from a public place if it fundamentally alters the nature of the space. Whatever that means. So they're not just 100% allowed at all times if there's a good reason that the city can demonstrate for them to be banned. Use as an example of a zoo. If it bothers other animals, then they couldn't ban it. So I just go back, I just go back to the ordinance. You have dangerous animal, you have vicious animal. Those are the criteria. After everything that you've heard, you can continue with questions. You have to decide to agree with the appeal, make a determination of dangerous or a determination of vicious.
Nothing more. We'll move on to the second part of the determination.
Just deliberation and possible action.
Yes. Deliberation and possible action.
You can sit there. Yeah, yeah. I think what Attorney Waldinger was talking about earlier is that there are certain things under ADA in which, you know, if somebody's saying this is a service dog, they only have to demonstrate a very little for you. You can't really ask a lot more questions than that, which is fine. I guess I'm not necessarily seeing any compelling evidence to say that somehow that designation supersedes a municipality's home rule authority over declaring an animal vicious or dangerous. Guess it's up to you to decide if the evidence presented labels it either one of those things. Are we done with the officer?
Yes, I think so. Are we? Thank you.
Too far.
Oh. It's up to the committee.
Yeah, just get started.
Anybody have any comments? David, Susan?
Honest. I know cats are dicks.
Can I, is that, on
Thank you.
is that for the record?
I'd almost, I'm leaning more towards pay $100 fine, register your dog, and don't do it again. I don't wanna see you back here.
I mean, for me, kind of where I am right now is we're looking at a case where one person got a bite, possibly, you know, because of playing, and it's not like we're calling EMS to go to the hospital here. So I'm kind of in the general lean of let's, you know, not declare it. That's kind of where I'm leaning right now. Because cats can, as Alderman Crowley said, cats can be cats and antagonize dogs. I've had cats and dogs my whole life, so I kind of know how that goes. It's kind of seeing what you guys are kind of thinking is, I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts.
Did the owner of the cat, are they okay with this?
I'm aware they abandoned the cat.
The cat was abandoned, and the guy,
The other gentleman had taken it in to care for it.
I thought,
They were gonna try to save it. I wasn't around because this would have never happened. I would have never let it do it. Just because I would be the one to introduce it to all.
Don't put a designation on them, something happens, are we gonna be?
I would say if you guys determine that he's not vicious because it doesn't meet the definition, then you should be fine. Perspective, from like a liability perspective.
Yeah, I think, and I'll just elaborate a little further, if you decide that it doesn't meet the definition of vicious and something else happens, fine. But if it does meet any of those definitions that are posed and it does, then you're not fine.
I guess the question is, does it meet the definitions of dangerous or vicious animal? What we need to decide. Yes.
Part of my issue is about provocation. Right?
Right.
Based on whose perception? kind of ambiguous.
Right.
I mean, the first incident, we're talking about possibly incidental contact that caused. I scratch myself all the time. It's really easy to do, and if you have a kid spinning in a chair and the dog's mouth goes nearby, it's very easy to get a scratch.
Right.
Are we gonna determine that a scratch from a dog's mouth is going to make it a dangerous animal? I mean, that's
Right.
what we're talking about here, right? Because if we determine that that's not an issue, right?
Right.
We've already determined that the second incident was with provocation, so that negates that definition as well. So I'm kind of, without provocation is the big thing here. That's what I'm hung up on, is did the dog act without provocation, or was there provocation? And that would negate anything in the first section.
The first one, no, the first one was with the kids, and the second one was the cat.
Right. As on two or more.
Right.
Well, I don't know, you'd have to rely on the police department. Was the first one provoked or not?
The evidence is in.
The kid was spinning on a device and then the dog hit the kid.
I mean, it doesn't sound like an attack.
Mr.
How long was that cat with the dog? A few days, a day?
Like, they took the cat in that night, and that night, my dog head was full of scratches, but it was that night.
That's the first time that dog met that cat?
At this point, you really just have to agree with the appeal, right? Or label it. That's really the only two actions.
Okay, Mr. Mendez, please let us discuss this now. Thank you.
I think that's correct in saying is you either have to agree with the appeal or not agree with the appeal and label it.
I mean, right now, where I'm at sounds like the cat provoked it. I don't think we're in dispute of that. And the first one, as someone I've owned dogs before, like playing tug of war with a dog, like you're gonna get bit or scratched. That happens when you're playing with a dog. I mean, it doesn't sound like this was a serious, dangerous, it's not like someone got sent to the hospital and they got arteries bit and, torn up. I don't think it meets the criteria. That's kind of where I'm at now. I don't think it meets the criteria for either of those as of right now. That's kind of where I'm thinking right now, is it does not meet the criteria. I think there's some provocation or excitement in both cases, so I don't think as of right now it meets the criteria.
Somebody want to make a motion on,
Where to take it?
Well, on the appeal. The action on why we're here is because police department declared it vicious. He had a 10-day, I believe, 10-day window to appeal it. He appealed it, that's why we're here. So the reason we're here is the appeal of the declaration. Technical perspective.
Does possible action go with that the motion as well?
It is action. The council doesn't hear it. This is the final decision. Quasi judicial, whatever you decide is it. So, if you, okay, two hypotheticals. You made a motion to agree, I don't know if the right word, to agree with the appeal, then the declaration is gone. If you disagree with the appeal, then you would have to make a recommendation if declared dangerous or vicious. It'd be weird to disagree with the appeal and not label it anything. Is that inaccurate?
I think you're making a motion to approve the declaration of
I agree.
being a
It's-
vicious animal or not.
Well, you're appealing your original decision.
Yeah, but what's being decided today, though, is are you upholding the police determination that the dog is a vicious animal? So it would be a motion to approve of that determination, or it would be a motion basically to deny, like, yeah, to basically to overrule that determination that it was deemed a vicious animal. And then the action to be taken would be basically that
So the action's about the determination of the police department,
correct,
not the appeal.
correct.
So I'd have to make a motion to deny determination that this dog is vicious.
Correct. And is that what you're doing? Sorry.
Okay, I would like, all right, I think I got this.
You think you
All right, I am gonna do my best. I'm gonna make a motion to deny determination that this animal is vicious.
That works, I think.
That works?
Works for me.
can I have a second?
Any more discussion?
Oh, okay.
So if this passes,
So I would, the incidences themselves don't go away. Where's the letter from Megan?
if we are
Megan?
going to approve this motion, dangerous and vicious are both off the table.
It was never declared dangerous.
Correct. It was only found, so the police department issued a order or a citation, basically, but that indicated that the dog was, met the criteria of being a vicious animal. So,
So we could completely throw that portion out, uphold their decision, or downgrade it to dangerous.
you don't have to do anything with the dangerous at all if you don't want, because that's not
No,
what.
I'm saying we could do those three actions. We could completely throw out that, uphold the vicious, or we could declare it dangerous instead.
Correct.
So even though the police department didn't label it dangerous?
Yes.
Thank you.
We have a motion on the table to deny the determination the dog is vicious.
Well, I mean, vicious is the more serious one, so I'll keep that motion. 'Cause vicious is worse than dangerous, right?
Correct.
So I'll keep that motion.
And Chris,
Action be taken.
Feeny?
Well, just, and remember, this is to, so nobody gets confused with the voting, because I've seen this before. You're voting to not agree with the police department,
Right.
not agree.
In other words, a yes vote would be
Correct.
Lesser category.
Yeah, so the role is, yes, you disagree with the police department. No, you don't disagree with the police department.
According to ordinance, I understand where you guys came from on the way it's spelled out.
You guys are on the right track. I think you guys are doing good.
I think right now we're voting to, a yes would say the dog is not dangerous, or not vicious, not vicious, right? So a yes vote now means you don't think the dog is vicious. That's the vote right now, right?
Correct.
Right, are you wanting to take further action?
Would you do that after the vote?
Over, technically, so if you want to do something else, you need to do it now at the same time.
You can bring it back. You made the original motion.
So do you guys want me to split the motion into?
I don't think you.
Well, I'm trying to clarify, because,
So if you vote now, the hearing is done. If you vote yes and everybody agrees, you're done, the dog's not vicious, we're done here. The question is if you want to take more action, you have to do it all in one vote. So that's, I'm just clarifying that, because if you want to do something more, so let's say
So
you
if
guys.
anybody has it in their mind that, okay, we'll say no, and then you make you can't.
Or I heard somebody say, we want him to license the dog. So if that is what you guys want him, like, let's say you said, no, he's not vicious, but he's got to license the dog, that would be what you're going to move occur. So,
Already in the city ordinance.
anyway, but, like, that's what I'm just pointing out, though, but that was something that somebody had said, right?
It was an example.
okay.
Yep,
We have a motion and a second, and now we're calling roll.
okay. Feeny,
Aye.
Paul? Aye. Wetzel?
Aye.
Fry?
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Dog is not vicious.
Yes, get your dog license first thing in the morning. City Hall's open.
Okay, I will do that, guys. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity again. I hope you guys meet them. I really do. You guys have a great evening. Have a Merry Christmas.
What else do you have on the agenda? That's it? Is that it?
Adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Paul?
Aye.
Wetzel?
Aye.
Fry?
Aye.
Crowley? Beanie?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
All right.
Yeah, it was vicious. I mean, the definition of it.
But the criteria on the board, it didn't.
Yeah, I mean,
I think you could do it anything you want.
So,
the thing that was like key is like,
Turn off the microphones.